Welcome to my basic graphing tutorial for the version of Excel that I have, along with Google Sheets. Some general graphing tips. So in most of the labs, I set up your spreadsheet for you ahead of time so that you know what you need to put where. In future labs, you're going to have to do this yourself. So it's important to have a heading at the top of each of your columns so that you know what is the data that's being entered below. Making sure things are formatted properly. It's helpful to not put text in the boxes that you're going to try to graph. So for instance, if you have a column that's time in seconds, you put that time in seconds at the top, and then each of those boxes just have the value without the actual units listed. Some graphs, Excel files or Google Sheet files will have various tabs for different parts of your lab for different graphs. It's very helpful to separate things out so that I know and you know what data is going into what graph. There are some time savers to help you with graphing things. So if you know you're going to be recording data in a set increment of time, you can have Excel help you out with that. You can type in equations into Excel to do calculations. And then the last tip I have here, I'll show you examples of each of these, but for when you're actually making a graph, it's important to choose the right type. So you're going to be, are you looking at how a surface is changing temperature over time or changing humidity over time? That's usually a steady change. Whereas other things like, say, precipitation might be one measurement taken at some specific point, and it might look better as a bar graph and not a line graph. All graphs should have a proper title at the very top showing you exactly and describing what is going to be in your graph, what that graph is showing, and also labels for your axes. So what is shown on the x-axis, what is shown on the y. If you have multiple lines on your graph, what are each of those lines representing? So I'm going to give you a little Excel overview, and then I'll jump right into a Google Docs overview. One thing to note about Excel is that every different version of Excel, Excel for Mac, Excel for Windows, 2016, all of these different versions have slight differences in them, but the key is some of these terms are going to be the same. So if I say you're looking for, say, chart tools, if that's where something is located, you should be able to find that verbiage somewhere. It might be in a different place, however. So if I show you an example here, I've got Excel for Mac here showed up. I'm going to show you the example earlier. So if you're saying doing recording time every 30 seconds, if you type in 0, 30, 60, 90, instead of going through and typing all that over and over again, but you know you're going to be measuring it for a certain amount of time, you can highlight all of those numbers, and Excel will know you're taking measurements every 30 seconds. And so if you click the corner, make sure that your cursor changes to the black plus sign, and then drag it to the bottom, it will do that automatically for you, which is nice. Saves you a little bit of time. You can also have Excel do equations for you. So if I want to say add two numbers, I can say equal sign, which is a way of telling Excel, this applies to Google Docs as well, I want you to do some math for me. And say I want to add 20 plus 45, and I hit enter, and it does the math for you. You can also, if I have values in different cells, I can say, oh, what's the total of all of these? So I can say equals, and I can hit each cell, plus sign, next cell, plus sign, next cell, and then hit enter, and it adds them together for me. I can also type in the words sum, and so if I just type in that first letter, you can see all the different functions that are in Excel, lots. But I can just type sum, and then parentheses, highlight the numbers I wanted to add together, close the parentheses, hit enter, and it does the math for me. So Excel has a lot of really fun tricks that can help you save time. So if we get to, if I just go through, I'm just going to delete these. If we go through here and try to graph this information, so let's say I just want to show a graph that has time and temperature. So it's important here to highlight just the data that you want. Don't include any extras like I did here. That can cause problems. So you want to highlight the name of your column and then just the data that you're trying to graph. Excel and Google Sheets are smart. I put smart in quotation sometimes because it's a computer program. But it will tell that this is a heading for the column, and it may actually help you out with labeling things. So if I highlight the data I want to graph, you can do this various ways. Some versions of Excel have an actual symbol at the top that you can just click on. You can also go File or Insert and then go to Chart, and then you'll see the various kinds. We always want to do XY scatter, and sometimes you want to have actual lines, so you can have them smoothed or straight. I click straight, here's my graph, and what this has done for me, and I can make it a little bit bigger here so you can see it, is it said that it recognized that we have temperature, giving me a heading. What you want to do is change this, so I want to say temperature change. I can just click in the box over time. Our temperature change of, you can say, water over time, whatever you're measuring the temperature of. It's important to include what your measurement is. So I want to add to this, we want to have a y-axis and an x-axis label. You can do this multiple ways. So sometimes your Excel will have a little plus sign here. If you click that, it will give you options to add. You can also do quick chart layouts. I can also click in here in some versions of Excel, and I can add things to my graph. Format chart area is another way you can add things depending on your version of Excel. I can click on this layout. It gives me the title things here. I can just click in and say, hey, this is going to be, and it's weird typing sideways, but it will work. Temperature in Celsius. And I can change the bottom to click in there. Time and then the units that it's in. And that's that. You can also add trend lines to these, and it again depends on your version of Excel. But in some cases, you can just right click on the data. So if you see here what I did, I clicked on the actual points and then I right clicked and I see add trend line, and it gives me the option of what time we want linear, and then click OK, and it gives us that trend line. We can also get rid of this graph here. If I want to say graph the time and just the humidity, we can do that. You highlight just the time and then hold the command button down or the shift button, depends on if you're using a Mac or a PC, and then highlight the next column you want. And again, you only want to highlight the data you want to graph, and then I can scatter plot, and it shows you the same kind of process. I can also graph all of this in one and just highlight all of it, make my graph, and you can see what it has done here is it has changed the color of the two different dots to show you how things change over time. And you can actually put in labels on both axes. There's different chart layouts, so you can add temperature, degrees Celsius on one side, and then the humidity in percent on the other side, and then of course the bottom labels as well. So depending on your version of Excel, you can do that in various ways. Alright, so that's Excel. If I show you Google Docs, so we have our data, same things go as far as the shortcuts and doing math equations in here. Similar idea, if I say I want to highlight and graph time and temperature, highlight the rows, columns that I want to graph, and then I want to do insert chart. And sometimes it will automatically pick one type of chart, bar graph, line graph, so on and so forth. If it doesn't pick the right one that I ask for, you can change it on the side here to all sorts of different types. But we want the scatter chart. We can have a line put on it for us if you want. We can have just the points. And then in the setup here, you can see you can change things around if you need to, add series if you want to. Google Docs knew what I wanted and actually put in the X and Y axis labels as well as the heading. You can customize this. Again, what temperature are we measuring? Is this air temperature? Is this a specific surface temperature? I'm going to specify exactly what that is. And if you click customize, you can add in various things. You can look at the chart style, different labels, series information. This is where you add a trend line in Google Sheets. And you see it will just add that for you if you would like a trend line. Legend, so if you want to have, if you have multiple lines and you want to change various things, colors, so on and so forth, that is where you do it. So if I change this around and I highlight all three, do the same thing, insert chart. And again, it recognized that I wanted an XY scatter chart for this, and you can see they labeled the Y-axis, but not, sorry, the X-axis, but not the Y. So you want to add that information to it. And you can do that through the Customize Chart Editor tool. Sometimes you can right-click and add it. So you can add your vertical axis title. You can say temperature in Celsius on there. And then you can also add humidity. And you can see it's automatically added to the chart. Some versions you can add a second to it. Sometimes you can actually copy this. Sometimes you can't, it just depends. But you can go through and add your legend here, so you can see this is your legend up here. You can change things if you want to change the font size, if you want to change the color, you can do that too. The basic point here is whenever you're putting together a graph, make sure you label everything so that it's clear what is being shown on your graph. And also, again, every version of Excel is different, so my instructions might not follow exactly what you see in your version of Excel. So it's important to look around a little bit for some of these things. So some versions of Excel have information in the top toolbar that you can just click on. Some you have to go into the editing or into the actual information at the top of your screen, like the insert, view, so on and so forth. So every version is a little bit different. It's just a matter of getting used to the one you have. If you have any questions at all, please email me as soon as possible.